Hi. What makes a being worthy of worship or obedience? Does he have to be more powerful than those who are worshiping and obeying him? Must he be capable of making life miserable for us if we don't obey him? And don't do his bidding? Does he have a right to rule us because he claims to have created us? Must he be a god or goddess? Or can he or she simply be a higher being than we are? Does he or she have to be good? What is it that makes it okay for us, and especially mandatory for us, to do the bidding of another being no matter what the being says to do? Whether it says to give somebody anything they ask for, or to murder or enslave another human being. Back in 2005, or it might have been 2006, I watched the miniseries Storm of the Century. It affected me more than I ever would have thought it could. I had to sleep with a light on in my room for a week, and then a light on in the hallway for an entire year. The show is now on Hulu, and my daughter Rachel suggested I watch it again. She knows, because she was single and living with me at the time, how badly this show scared me. And I guess she thought I should try it again, and at this point in my life, to see if I could get over my fear. So I watched it again a week or so ago. At first I felt really anxious. Just watching the beginning and knowing what it was about made me uncomfortable. But I persevered. Now, in the show, a character named Andre Lenoge is the villain. He isn't an immortal, but he's definitely got a lot more powers and abilities than mere humans. He lives longer, knows more, and has abilities such as making objects or people move, or reading and controlling people's minds. And in the story, Andre wants something. The people are naturally afraid of him, and he declares, "Give me what I want and I'll go away." A god usually says, "Give me what I want and I'll stay," but Andre wasn't a god. As the story unfolds, we discover what Andre wants. He wants a child. If he gets one, he'll leave. If not, he'll mind control the whole community and cause them to walk into the sea and drown. All of the children, as well as the adults, will die rather than only one child being taken to live with Andre. One child's being taken to live with Andre. The whole community will disappear like the people of Roanoke. Obviously, this is a huge dilemma. Do these people give up a child, or do they all cling to their morality and their integrity and die, if that's what it comes to, along with all of the children, not just one who doesn't even die if the people obey Andre? In some ways, the answer seems easy. It's better to give Andre one child who won't die but will become like Andre, with powers and a much longer life. Otherwise, everybody dies. Of course, the first question to answer is whether Andre can do what he threatens to do. Mind control everybody, so they do indeed commit suicide. Well, unlike how it is with us and the God of the Bible, these people saw evidence that Andre could mind control some of the people on the island. So they believed his threat because they saw him do it, to a couple of people. So what do you think? Should one person be sacrificed from the community for the good of all? The child was moving on up, like how Jesus did when he was actually killed and moved into a higher and better place. Shoot, when any human dies, we all declare that they're in a better place, right? And the child at least wouldn't die at that time, and in fact would live a long, long life and have great power and knowledge. The child would become like the amazing Andre. Also, the child would save the whole world they lived in. The child would save them all from death. Was Andre a god again? No. But does that matter? Was Andre evil? Yes. Does that really matter? Certainly doesn't matter when it comes to the God of the Bible, who told people to murder others all the time and do various other evil acts. And again, Andre had no plans to murder the child. He didn't command anyone to kill the child because the child was lazy or gluttonous or didn't worship Andre, like the God of the Bible does. Andre did, he did try to force a man to murder a woman. When the man failed, Andre forced the woman to murder the man. But that's not evil. It can't be, because Yahweh did the same thing. Yes, Yahweh told King Saul to kill everyone in Amalek. Saul saved King Agag. So Yahweh made Samuel chop Agag to pieces and then took the kingdom of Israel from Saul because he didn't murder somebody. Yahweh had thought when he set Saul up that Saul would be a good king. He said in all of Israel there wasn't a goodlier person. But after this happened, Yahweh regretted making Saul king. You'd think he could have seen this coming. But no. Yahweh isn't omniscient after all. He can't know what's going to happen in the future. Anyway, Andre didn't do any evil that Yahweh hasn't done or wouldn't do. And Andre simply wanted a child to love and teach, a child who would carry on his legacy after he was gone. What's wrong with that? Also, Andre didn't try to steal the child. No, he asked for one. That's a lot more than Yahweh did when he told Mary she would have a child. Sure, she said okay, and what could a young girl do but say okay? Yahweh forced his will on Mary so he could later kill her child. But Andre was not going to force his will on anyone. He made threats, like Yahweh does. That doesn't go against free will, right? But nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? You'll burn, says Yahweh, or you'll drown, says Andre. And we know Yahweh threatened and carried through on the drowning threat as well. We really don't know whether Andre would have carried out his plan, although it's safe to assume he would have, because he's the one who reminded these people of Roanoke, insinuating that he was responsible for the disappearance of all of its inhabitants. As a superior being, would Andre have a right to make such threats? Isn't it why Yahweh has the right to do the same thing? As superior beings, we ourselves force our will on lower beings all the time. We force it on dogs and cats and cows and pigs. Might and higher intelligence make right. Isn't that true? And isn't it the whole point of the biblical story? The God of the Bible, or Gob, as my friend Doug calls him, is worse, far worse than Andre Lenoge. Gob had a child, his own child, murdered because he couldn't find it in his heart to forgive unless someone was murdered. Andre just wanted a child to live a long life and be one with him and continue after Andre was gone. I think I'm coming to understand why Andre scared me so badly back in 2005 or 2006. Maybe he reminded me too much of the cruel and evil God I served at the time. And now that I don't serve that awful God, all fear is gone. More than that, I don't have to condone evil acts such as child murder and slavery. And interestingly, upon my second viewing of The Storm of the Century, I found it in some ways quite comical. There is no being like Andre Lenoge, and there is no being like Yahweh who wants our children or kills our children if we don't do his bidding, which we know the fake God Yahweh does. But one thing I'm fairly sure of, there's no difference between one evil monster and another. Any being, especially a higher being, who requires human sacrifice or the murder of people who do no more than refuse to worship the being or be obedient to him, is not worthy of our worship or even our obedience. The truth is, the higher beings owe lower beings kindness and consideration, not threats and punishments because the lower beings aren't as evolved. We understand that. Most of us at least try to treat our dogs and cats with dignity and show them love and consideration. We don't expect them to live up to our abilities. We don't threaten to kill them or burn them or drown them when they don't. The idea of worshiping power and might is crazy, especially when the one carrying the hammer shows absolutely no concern for the plight of the less evolved. Now, Andre Le Nôtre felt sympathy for these people he came among and threatened. But he wanted what he wanted. And being capable of bringing death to those who refused to give it to him, he got what he wanted. You know, just like evil Yahweh does. But again, the question we need to answer is, does the powerful person, wizard, or God have the right to demand obedience or put us to death, or do even worse if we don't do what it wants? If so, why does he, she, it have that right? Do you have a good answer? Because I sure don't. And the funny thing is, although the character Yahweh is far more evil than the character Andre, we all think Andre is evil. Yet many of us love Yahweh and say he's good all the time. Yahweh behaves like a pure devil, but many don't simply overlook him. No. They praise him for his evil ways. It's all good and holy, they declare. Slavery, fine. Child murder, holy and just. And you know what else? The people who worship Yahweh would worship and obey Andre if they believed in him, just like the people in the miniseries did. You know they would. And, oh yes, they'd act like they were the noble and honorable and moral people and look down on the rest of us. Only one man in the miniseries stood up against the decision these people made to give up the child. But alone, this man couldn't win the day. Now let me ask you something. What's the difference between valuing the one life we know we have and bowing to a monster like Andre to keep that life, and valuing a later life that we don't know for sure will come to pass just because it lasts longer, if indeed it's actually real? Seriously, what's the difference? Isn't it more noble to value this simple, hard life we now have and do good even if it means we die than it is to obey a monster who promises us a pleasant and easy longer life? Isn't the person who serves for $10 or maybe for free nobler than the person who serves for $1 million? Aren't atheists who do good deeds just to be nice nobler and more moral than Christians who do good deeds for a reward or to escape pain and death? And yes, the whole point is to escape pain and death. That's the biblical problem that needed fixing. It's also the problem in the miniseries that needed fixing. Now, assuming Christians would say that these people in the miniseries should have fought to save the child and tried to figure out another way to defeat Andre, or all died trying, why do they not feel the same way about the evil and monstrous Yahweh? And even if they aren't courageous enough to fight against this evil God Yahweh, why don't they at least admit that he is indeed evil, as they certainly would admit that the character Andre is evil? Apparently, the only answer is that they think it's noble and moral to bow to an evil being in order to live forever in some future life, but not noble or moral to bow to an evil being to live 40 or so years longer in this life. They talk a lot about the sanctity of life on the earth, but it seems to me that it's all just talk. If that's not the case, then maybe some Christian can answer the questions that I've asked here. To sum up my questions, what makes another being worthy of worship and obedience, particularly when we know he has committed heinous acts in the past and has made it clear that he plans to do the same in the future. Of course, I know the problem here. We all know it. It's not about, nor has it ever been about, morality or goodness. It couldn't possibly be, since Yahweh is neither moral nor good. Do you remember the story of King David and his adultery and murder? Remember that Yahweh said he had forgiven David. Yeah, he forgave him, but he still punished David's baby. He made the little thing linger sick for a whole week and then snuffed out his little life. But not for David's adultery or murder. No. Those were forgiven. Can't punish somebody for something you've forgiven. For what did Yahweh say he killed the baby? What was the reason? 2 Samuel 12, 13 and 14, but we'll do 13 first. David said to Nathan, I have sinned against Yahweh. Nathan said to David, Yahweh also has put away your sin. You will not die. Okay? Nice. No death sentence for David, even though the law demanded it. Yahweh showing mercy, we think. He just forgave. But let's continue in verse 14. However, because of this deed, you have given great occasion to Yahweh's enemies to blaspheme. Because you've done that, the child also who is born to you shall surely die. What? Let me get this straight. Because the enemies of Yahweh would talk smack about him, about the high and mighty Yahweh, his so-called morality and so-called justice demanded that an innocent child die. What the crap, y'all? Please do not have the audacity to say to me that this is good, just, moral, or righteous in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Do not shame yourself that badly. Have at least a little self-respect here, okay? Yahweh must have justice. Justice, my rear end. Yahweh wouldn't know justice if it walked up and introduced itself to him. Remember the one man who was willing to stand up against Andre? Why did he have to stand alone? Why didn't others join him? We know why. It was because the other people feared Andre. And that's exactly why people do what Yahweh says, be it good or be it bad. They don't want pain, and they don't want to be, and they do want to be rewarded with nice things. They want a long life as well. It's all about fear. Yes, it's what it was about with Andre, and it's what it's about with Yahweh. Many people are willing to do anything, no matter how evil, such as condoning child murder and slavery, as Christians do, in order to save their own skin. And then somehow they twist it all in their deluded minds to make themselves the good guys in the story. You see, there's a reason Christians have to pretend that their God is good, and they are therefore the superior, moral, and holy people in our land. It's because none of it's true. Good moral people don't need to talk about how much better they are than others. But those who know they aren't must proclaim throughout the land that they are the chosen ones, the sanctified ones, the ones set apart, the holy ones, the peculiar people. They have to try to convince everyone, including themselves, that it's so. But anybody who reads the Bible with an honest heart can see through this lie. Yahweh is not good, and those who defend him and his evil ways are not good. I'm sorry, but the truth is the truth, and it's time we tell it. Thank you all. Bye.